Well, happy Sunday, Gunner.
Happy Sunday. Welcome, everyone.
What a world we're living in, huh?
Listen, I've been talking about this for probably, 6 years plus, and it's coming to fruition. I've heard you're a conspiracy theorist. You're full of shit. You're not this. You're not that. No, it's absolute truth. Um, yes, Joe Biden was actually dead through a whole thing. We had number 46 presidency is now null, is working on being null and void. Um, yes, it was taken. Um, yes, they're finding out AutoPen and they're finding out who had control of it and who was diverting all this money and everything. The Pelosi's are being investigated. Gavin or Adam, what's his name over there in California? Sorry, forgive me.
Oh my God, what is it?
Yeah, I had a brain fart on that one too. Shifty.
Yeah, Chief. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so Shift has had this. It is uncovered. Yes, we told you the same thing. George Soros has been exposed to using USAID funds for his own political gain and control for world domination and control. Finding out who the puppet masters are. We told you this was going to happen. It's all going to get uncovered. We are going back to the Constitution. And right now, with everything you're seeing in our world, just this whole past week, if you'll notice, we had a special edition, I believe it was one night this week on CBS Breaking News that was dealing with the raids that were going on in Minnesota. They say, oh, well, it's ICE. No, this is a tactical purging of all the illegals that were here, the people and drug dealers and everything else that were coming across the border. People, they are known that these are, they were labeled MS-13 and other gangs were labeled as terrorists. They are now removing the terrorists from our country. This is going on worldwide, though. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. We're dealing with that problem, but they're also dealing with the influx of Islam that has been brought in by that mass relocation and that forced upon all the countries that were in the UN to immigrate people from certain areas, this and that, Afghanistan and Iran and so on and so forth. You have got to understand, they believe so severely. I mean, here, a lot of people say we're a Christian nation, but you got to understand these people believe it so much, they're willing to die for it. And people in America, they turn around and if you're challenged on your belief system, they're not going to lay down their lives for it. And these people are willing to give everything, and they truly believe and have used smarter tactics to invade countries and basically breed like cockroaches. And I'm going to use that because that's what they do. They live off of social welfare systems in these countries. They're not a productive member of society.
Hey, Gunnar, hold on. I want to go back because there's a lot of people that are going to be like, what the hell is this kook talking about and this and this and that? But I'm going to show this right here real quick.
Sure.
I want to play this here. Let me turn off my ad blocker. Sorry about that. Just because I don't want anybody being like, God, what are they talking about? He's crazy and all of this. This is from NBC News right here.
Yeah, it's national news. They're slowly coming to the realization of things. And there's been a national media blackout, too, that people don't realize. And we've told you, the president at 45 turned over the country to the U.S. military because of what was found. They knew what was there. Even though it was declassified for us, that was stuff that the president has the ability to see these documents, and it's turned over to the United States military under 45. There was a whole ceremony. If you don't understand the ceremonies, it was turned over to the United States military. And it wasn't until recently that all that stuff came and said, now we have enough to do what we need to do. The president was reelected. We'll say reelected, but full power was given to the president upon reelection. And now they're reinstituting what was researched. Yeah, it's not a joke. It's a real thing. And they're using
conspiracy theory on Truth Social. This time, it was about
all these other things.
Yamiche, one more thing. One more thing to talk about. Over the weekend, we saw the president repost another baseless conspiracy theory on Truth Social. This time, it was about former President Biden. And normally, we may not want to share such outlandish misinformation with our viewers, but the president does have nearly 10 million followers on social media, so it's on Truth Social, so it's important to set the record straight. Tell us, what did he say this time, and what kind of pushback are we seeing?
And I'll echo your caution here because we don't usually repeat something that is so outlandish and baseless. But the president reposted an online post without context, by the way. He didn't add any commentary to it. But the person that he reposted said that former President Biden had been executed and that he was actually replaced with clones and robots that were doing the job for him. Again, this is, of course, completely unfounded. President Biden has also been clear. Not only is he dealing with sort of the challenges of being out of office, but there's also this idea that the president is also dealing with prostate cancer right now and going through treatment for that. So it's really not only a baseless claim, but also a claim that it's attacking someone who is going through a real health crisis. We don't know why President Trump, reposted this. The White House is declining to comment, but this is not, of course, the first time that he's reposted baseless claims, and I'm sure it will not be the last. But President Trump has not been shy about spreading conspiracy theories in some ways. It largely, in some ways, at least partly, if not largely, got him elected because a lot of his supporters do believe in the things that he says, whether they're baseless or true. So just another, I think, a chapter of President Trump saying something that just is not true, unfortunately.
All right, Yamiche,
Joe.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Ha. So there they go. They want to just, they want to go out there and then make him look like an asshole for saying this stuff. But that's like, what are we trying to do here, right?
Once again, they have to keep up their. They have to keep up their on one side of the aisle. They have to keep up the ruse. I mean, imagine if that actually came out, what that would mean. They would be formally admitting acts of treason and sedition against this country to overthrow and or control this country. And you have got to understand, we do not live in a democracy. The elected and appointed officials and actors do not rule this country. We, the people, under our Constitution, we have control. We are the government. And this is something we've been propelling on all of our shows, I believe, is that the fact that, we, the people, are the government. We are the ones that are in control of this stuff. And our Constitution is not up for negotiation. And whereas before, yes, it's been for decades that we have been overthrown and overtaken by several different people and organizations meant to destroy us. And that we are not, the fact that we're even in the UN is actually against our Constitution. It affects our very sovereignty, which is why we've pulled out of the WHO, the WEF, and, slowly pulling out of the UN, saying, listen, we're willing to work together with some of these other nations on things, but also understand we're not giving up our sovereignty. And that is the sovereign word. You'll notice a lot, if you're into international news, you're going to also hear the fact that with a lot of that stuff too, that a lot of other countries are saying the same thing. Ireland, Scotland, you're hearing out of France, out of Spain, out of Amsterdam. I mean, you've got other places that are completely overthrown with things. And now they're even tracing back some of the money and the big banking stuff to the neutral country, which is Switzerland. Why is Switzerland like that? History's being redone. Was Hitler really killed? Was this going on? What else have we been lied to? Imagine living your whole life thinking one thing, and then come to find out that every bit of it's bullshit. Of course you're going to reject it. That's what we're telling people. We're expecting this reaction out of you. We're expecting this not to be true, or do you go, but here, use the logic, and here's the facts. And there's the problem that most people are beginning to wake up and going, oh, wow, it is real. Why? Because they're doing raids and all this. So they're purging our country here to remove the people that are not supposed to be here or have spoke up and tried to do things. They've connected this with colleges. Harvard's been hammered lately on all the stuff that they've been doing and the amount of money they've received from overseas and other countries to, if their country's so great, why are you sending your some of the highest people in the world to here to get educated? Why? Because here in America, what was going on is they were teaching amongst everybody the one world order theory. And that's exactly what it was. Now it's been ripped off. Most people think, well, what's going on with the stuff with Ukraine and Russia and all that? Well, they don't want peace talks. So President Trump just said, you know what? I washed my hands of it. You guys want to pick at each other? We're not getting involved. And how do you like that? Well, Ukraine had a hissy fit. And of course, you see, some of the politicians, everything over there, I guarantee you when they get back and everything else, those people over there that are working with the UN thinking they're representing the US, or the impression they're giving, they're going to come back and get treason charges. I can guarantee that that's going to happen. You can see that coming from a mile away. Now, you continue that. Now, Germany has stepped up. Germany says, hey, we'll take and give you some weapons and this and that. Well, Russia's response to that with Putin, go ahead, and we'll drop a bomb on Berlin. Wow. Now, there's been other things where China has been, right off the coast of Alaska, there's a 200-mile barrier before you hit international waters. And you can do whatever in international waters, but we've monitored them. And, it's crazy. And now, China's been flying bombers and test bombers and refueling and all sorts of other things. And we're over here, we're watching you. But at the same time, we're not getting involved with this shit like you did last time. Y'all want to go at it, go the fuck at it. We're going to deal with our sovereignty and don't bring it to our soil. But we're not going to let another thing like, Pearl Harbor. Again, this is why Trump has proposed the dome over America to prevent bullshit like what's been happening, and why that technology was founded here in the United States. And where is that used today, Darren? Right over Israel. Why is that not the same system here over our country and our border? Now you're looking at Canada, Alberta. Man, what a thing that's going on in Canada. And hats off to Alberta. And we would more than happily welcome you as the 51st state and give you and the ability to have your Second Amendment rights, so that shit doesn't happen again. And people need to wake up, because listen, and a lot of people, you and I were just talking about this earlier. If a lot of people, especially with the case with CPS starting right here in Tennessee, there's a lot of movements, but there's not a case with a lot of people. And here's a case brought forth that has been accepted, that is in its early infant stages. We haven't even done mediation, that now we have so much and we're broadcasting it loud. Why? Because the power is found within the people. The more people, we, the government, that come together and step together and say, we will not tolerate this anymore, will happen. Now, there's been a history about that. And I'm going to share this with you guys, and hold on. And this has happened in Tennessee. And I'm going to share this one here for you, Darren. Let's see here.
Well, I'll tell you this, man. Foreign adversaries know that they can't square off against the U.S. military. So how do they infiltrate and take over, man? By sending millions of non-uniformed
it's not just the military.
Take over regions and pass laws friendly to their host nation, right? Then the border floodgates open and those areas become violent zones against the American government. That's how it happens. And
they slowly creep in until they had enough. Now, listen, there's been a story. Now, I want you guys to see this. Guys, look this up for yourselves. This was a Tennessee town back right after the end of World War II. It's called the Battle of Athens, sometimes called the McMinn County War. This is just north of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and this is a real thing. Athens and Etowah, and you say the local government was overthrown by the people because of the exact same shit that we're going through now. Now, these were veterans, World War II veterans that did this, and you guys can look this up. And no, it's not a joke. What we're talking about is the people waking up and saying, hell no, this is not constitutional. We've had enough. We've been oppressed. You're downtrodden us. You've taken our ability to have an American dream, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and even to the point you're stealing our fucking children with no criminal activity whatsoever. Listen, why is it? And this is where a lot of parents have come to, especially with CPS, is even if you're in prison, your children still have a right to visit you in the penitentiary. So why is it that they're removing children from families with no convictions, no criminal convictions in a criminal court? Yes, they're even doing, like I said, even in my particular thing, they try to throw a criminal thing in civil court with no jury. That's so unconstitutional, it's not even funny. That's mass corruption. And here in Blount County, Tennessee, get used to that name, guys, worldwide. And I'm not kidding. You can read about what's going on. And Blount County, Tennessee is on the verge of popping. And I mean popping. I mean with the schools. And where's everybody popping? Schools, public education, touching kids, abusing kids, all this other stuff. We've got another person that I don't get on TikTok, but sometimes you get it through the reels. There's one dad that fights for his parents' rights, and and he's got an autistic kid. And I can't remember if he's a chef, but you guys probably know who I'm talking about. But he posted, "Hey, listen, it's by law you've got to have cameras in the classroom for kids with special needs and autism and everything else the entire time, so parents can go review to make sure everything's happening and everything's kosher and wearing cameras." Why? Because the parents still take in and do that. Gapped to us. I'm not following you there a little bit, Lewis. Be a little bit. Could you clarify that? I appreciate that if you could clarify that. That's part of our case. We had a caseworker, like I said, illegally entered the home.
Oh, he's saying what happened to you gonna happen to us. That's what he's saying.
Yeah. Oh, okay, I got you. Happened. Okay, got you. Wrong letter. All good. This is what's going on across the country. It's unconstitutional. The problem is I wouldn't shut the fuck up. I knew my rights, and I tried to exercise, and I tried to do this, and I knew everything was wrong. See, the thing that they didn't understand either, that I knew my rights, but at the same time, they didn't realize that I actually have family that is retired out of the system. Now, I'm not going to take and say which family member it is, nor will you be able to probably find it. But at the same time, I'm not going to tell you whether or not it was state court or federal court. So they fucked up. Because I knew a lot about the law, and it doesn't take me long to absorb things. Anybody that knows me personally, wow, that dude picks up stuff fast. Yeah, it doesn't take me long. But like I said, it's mass corruption. And when you have, and people say, here in Blount County, we had a teacher that was touched over 20 years. The school system moved this teacher around, over 80 victims. And the conviction he got was 6 months probation. And after that, if he didn't take and break anything like that, it was wiped from his record, never lost his teaching license, anything like that. And they say, why is it like that? Let me explain why the system is like that. Because guess what happens? All 80 of those kids, who gets those kids, Darren? What automatically comes in? CPS, right?
Yep.
That's money for them. That's more offenders. So why not let the guy loose and offend 80 more kids? He's making money for CPS in the court systems.
Yeah.
Why not? Because
listen, they have to continue. They have to continue that money to come in. They have to.
Yeah.
That's part of the that's part of the way our government is run. That's the way it's built, is by stealing kids. I mean, this is, if people are understanding this at this point, then they're idiots. Like, people are just dumb to think that that's not reality of what's going on here. Like, our kids are being stolen for no reason. Our
money.
Kids are, right. Exactly. For the reason on that side is to pay for whatever they've got going on. But, on our side, as parents, they're stealing our kids for no reason. They're making up false allegations against us. They're doing all kinds of things. And, the rest of the American public that aren't affected by this don't say anything about this. But you know what? When their taxes get increased by 1%, then they're bitching and crying and they're all over the place. But not when they're taking, but yet they don't have their kids taking it, so they're not paying attention. Well, start paying attention, because your kids are next.
Now, Karen, and I'm going to comment on what Karen says, talking about Tanawha Downing. And let's talk about some of these other movements and everything in here. Yes, he may have all these things, and he has filed a federal lawsuit and has 25 million affidavits. Just because somebody's filed something doesn't mean it's not going to be accepted or kickback or try and hit with, with that case. What's that case like? I am having trouble today. Rooker versus Feldman. He can file all he wants with one case, and this is what all I have, and they're going to slap Rooker versus Feldman and kick him back just as hard as he can. Why? Because he's got a lot of noise and this and that, and he's trying to. And the foundation is there's still got to be the cases that he's talking about, or the premise for it, still has to have a person. You cannot file a case on a subject matter. It has to be and have a victim, if you will say, or a thing. So which victim is leading the case? Because that's federal statute. Who's leading the case in that? Because then that person, now you're looking at a class action lawsuit. Well, who's going to get the most money, or who benefits from that? Well, the attorney's going to make the most money, because correct me if I'm wrong, Darren. You're fully aware of this and educated. Who makes the most money on that? The attorney.
Lawyers, right? Mm-hmm.
Because why? They get a percentage off of each individual person, which beats that amount down.
Right.
But great, you're out there pointing a thing of saying, hey, this has happened to him and we need restitution. How does that fix the system? It doesn't. What's the difference between our case? We're charging them directly with treason and sedition for the state itself as part of being part of a national child networking trafficking scam
Right.
and international now that we have.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big difference on how you file. What's the difference between the two? Why? We're going after and saying you're unconstitutional. The states and all
Right.
50 states and turning that over. What does that mean? That means the whole system shuts down. That means the state can't collect taxes. It can't charge. It can't bill. It can't operate anything that it's done. And we've got it for over a decade as of now. That means for over a decade. Do you know what that means? They have to refund everybody. You know what else that means? They can't adjudicate anything when they're actively involved in treason and sedition. What does that also mean? All the convictions and all the other bullshit that they've done throughout the entire state, what? Now has to be repealed. You have to pull all of them back. Why? Because you're not legally able to even hear a case. That changes everything. They're not able to collect taxes, property taxes. All. What does that mean? Welcome to the reckoning and returning to the Constitution. They're going to have to pay everybody back. And what's that going to do? It's going to bankrupt every state. That's where we're going. Now they've got no power. Why? Because the power should rest in the people. Now you can demand for allodial titles and actually own your property. That in most states you can't. And say, we don't want this anymore. We don't need these taxes. This is what tariffs are for. That people don't understand what capitalism actually was designed to do, which is what? Support us. And we're not supposed to do that stuff. Exactly, Lewis. I'm in a federal court. I'm not in a state court. Our case has been accepted. We're early on in it. Yes, we have mediation. And mediation is saying, hey, we're going to come to the table and we're going to say, we did this, we did that, but here, sign this non-disclosure and here's the fat paycheck. It's already been a history established within case law that it's actually happened, and they seal those documents. Are we going to take that? Abso-fucking-lutely not. This is domestic fucking terrorism. And we've got the connection of the whole web, including the public education system. Why? Name one kid today out of the public education, the percentages is less than 1% of children that can read out of public school your original documents. And we have this discussion with the teacher before. Why? We should be pushing modern stuff in this. We shouldn't have to deal with calligraphy and cursive, this and that. Good. No, you're right. Do you know what those say? Do you know what the original documents say and be able to interpret and do it for yourself without a computer? No. There's the issue. That's how the Department of Education has worked into what? Enslave you. You guys don't believe me? Go to my personal page at Gunnar Evers or Gunning for CPS, our news page, where we share all those different videos of what's been going on to control us. It's meant to control us. It's been used worldwide. And there's Rothschilds and all these massive, powerful families. Is that they're all getting ready to fall, people, nationally.
That's a
They're
fact.
going to bankrupt them one after another. This is the beginning of freedom. This is a worldwide revolution against what you call the deep state, the corporation, whatever you want to call it. The people across the world have had enough. Australia, New Zealand. I know we reach out to all those other places. Guys, and they understood that, these people wanted to overtake us. Listen, there was multiple facets looking to gain control of the world. China's tried to do it, with different, things that they've been doing. How is another country going to own property in another country? It's not going to happen. They're going to revoke every bit of what China has and all these other countries have. It's all going to be null and void. You know who's going to have that? We, the people, are going to have that.
There's a lot of property in this country too. Do you know that in between your property lines in every state, there's a piece of common land in between you and your boundaries of your house.
Easement.
The easement that's there. Do you know that China owns all of that?
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that? Did you know that China owns all those easements that are in between all the properties? That land that you can't touch, that you can't go on, and then nobody else can?
Mm-hmm. And that's where you push, guys. If you don't know, that's where you push all those elected and appointed officials back. And you also have another thing around your property called curtilage. How many people have heard of curtilage? Did you know that that's protected by the Fourth Amendment? Including your vehicle, including your hospital room, including anywhere that you may reside or go with. They can't open and enter or anything. And that's why they want to do what? Hey, I don't like the tint on your windows. Why?
Yeah.
Because they can't look in.
Yeah.
Oh, makes a whole lot more sense, doesn't it?
But their windows can be tinted to all hell. You can't see anything in their cars.
This is why we're pushing, and a lot of people go, well, I'm a state national, I'm this, I'm that. No, you're a free person that resides within. When I move residency from one territory or one state to another, the other one loses jurisdiction. You know, I heard a story. I actually had a person that actually was talking about giving an affidavit, and this is how fucked up it is. They lived in North Carolina, visited somebody in Virginia. CPS showed up, got control of a bunch of shit, and forced them to relocate to Virginia.
Wow, so they could get jurisdiction. Yeah, oh, Jesus almighty.
That here, guys, this is why the Second Amendment is so important. And this is why those states that have the worst, and I know you're up there, Darren, with Maine, with some fucked up shit. But listen, this is why your Second Amendment, because that's what they fear and that's what they want to restrict. Oh, it kills people. It does this. No, it equals the playing field for when you fuck up and you get out of control. As the Constitution specifically says, it gives us the ability when we can't get through the court systems and we can't get justice this particular way, and the Constitution is on our side, that gives us the right and the ability to what? Take down or tear down that tyranny, even if it means by force. And people say, now you're talking about going against. No, I'm not talking about going against the government. Why? Because we, the people, are the damn government. So let's get it clear. I'm not talking about an insurrection. I'm not talking this. I'm talking about holding our elected and appointed officials and actors accountable. And when they get out of line and they think that they have become tyrannical, the Constitution is exceptionally clear on this. What the responsibility, and not just the responsibility, it says
it's your obligation. It's your obligation as a citizen. Right, your duty, correct.
But what have they done? They've softened you over decades, haven't they? Oh, this is bad, and you don't need to know how to use weapons. You don't need to know how to use hunt. You don't need to hunt. You don't need to do this. They're trying to soften our militia, we the people.
Which the sheriffs are supposed to be the
head of the militia.
They're the ones that are supposed to be sponsoring and making this thing happen.
But how can you do that when all your local sheriffs and city police, which police are not in the Constitution, only the sheriff, those are appointed people, they're not elected. And there's the other thing we need to take and fix. We need to get these appointed people out of the damn way, especially in our states. Knock this shit off. Quit appointing people. You think that the CPS commissioner is elected? No. Do you hear anything about these commissioners? No. Do you know who writes those handbooks and everything else or gets their approval? The commissioners. They're the people you don't hear about. They're the people in the shadows. You guys are chasing lawyers and doctors and all, and I'm sorry, lawyers and judges and magistrates and all this other stuff. Where does it originate? Your commissioner, your CPS commissioner, and and who do they answer to? The governor. Is any of them doing their damn job, especially in Tennessee? Hell no. Because we just entered the hard evidence. As of right now, if the people of Tennessee wanted to overthrow all those things there, the evidence has been put on the federal court record to do so. That's what you people need to realize. We have the ability now in Tennessee. Why? Because here's the proof. It's on the federal record. We don't have to explain ourselves anymore beyond that. And that's the thing that they hate. And yeah, I've got locals and everything else want to try this bullshit. I guess you want to play fuck around and find out when the feds come get your ass, don't they? Because they ain't playing and they know all about what's up over here. Cross that line. Keep trying. Because I guarantee you ain't gonna be happy. Why? Because you're gonna find out a whole lot of things. There's a lot of people out there let alone, now we're connected with the international child trafficking ring. The people that are not the ring, but the people that bust up these rings, the military conglomerate, Operation Liberty. Yeah. Come play that game over here. I guarantee you they'll be here real ricky ticky. And they ain't going to be fun when they take a turn around. Why? Because they don't play. Because they're under presidential orders, Cupcake.
Mm-hmm.
It's done. That's the thing. And here's the thing. They're taking care of the stuff up top. You know what we're doing within this case? This is the we the people case. We're meeting them in the middle of saying, we agree with you. We're cleaning up the bottom and we're taking care of all the little things and pointing them out. Hey, look at all the people here. That's what they fear. Us coming together, us being educated. Blount County, we don't trust nobody here in Blount County. We don't trust all of them. And I've got every single judge sitting up at that courthouse on acts of fucking treason. Why? Because they turned around and signed something, all the judges up there, to violate constitutional rights. And you know what? The very thing that they signed against that was the same thing that prevented evidence, my defense, my constitutional due process right, and interfered with that. What does that mean? All those judges now have to be terminated and held responsible, and that has to be nullified. But we'll deal with that in court. But there ain't a damn thing they can do. Why? Because the evidence is there. Prove otherwise. Let alone now you have all of Blount County coming forward. Yeah, I know about it. Oh, yeah. There's a reason they don't want, we need to seal the courtrooms. When are our courtrooms supposed to be sealed, Darren?
When are they supposed to be sealed?
When is the time to seal a courtroom?
When it has to do with children.
When it deals with interest of national security.
Oh, well, okay.
That's it. Other than that, your courtrooms are supposed to be open to the public. 100%.
Even with children under the age of 18.
Not under federal. Show me the statute. It doesn't exist. The state has it, but the federal statute doesn't. It says very clearly about what our courts are supposed to have. But once again, what do they care? Because once again, what does it usually say in those things with children, Darren? It's against what? You against the state. Mm-hmm. Are the state even supposed to have adjudicating those things? No,
absolutely not.
Article 3, Section 2, Clause 2. Any case where the state is a defendant or plaintiff, that the Supreme Court, the federal Supreme Court, has original jurisdiction. Why? Because it eliminates the bias. Sucks that Constitution to get around, doesn't it?
It's good stuff, man. It's real good stuff. See there. It's good.
Listen, as far as guns or anything else or this and that, let me tell you something. That is an extension of you. You can put that down. It won't kill anybody. Bottom line, it won't do it. It is the person behind that and the theory behind that. But when when you're dealing with a bunch of brainwashed people that has gender confusion, gender this, and all these other things that are going on that are done, listen to me clearly. It's not your fault because we've been poisoned by our food. And that is what RFK has been taking and revealing to everybody, is the effects of it, let alone the immunizations that are causing autism and all these other things that are here. They're trying to kill us and control us. You know, the healthiest nation in the world doesn't even take immunizations.
Yeah, well, there's no need to. There's no need to bear down on your immune system like that. You're not meant to be that way. Your body's meant to defend itself.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is we have immunizations that were on the schedule that because of modern research in medicine and everything, we don't need this one anymore. Why? Because you can simply take this natural food and it's gone because it was a lack or a deficiency in your diet. But what does Big Pharma want you to do? Name one thing that Big Pharma's cured.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Right.
Nothing.
Hell, they even made us feel good and they took that away. You know, like people that live in pain and they took that away from us.
Oh, yeah. Well, they want you, like I said, uncomfortable. They don't want you to have certain things and all sorts of other things that are out there. I mean, you look at, well, one big popular one that's still coming up again is that of the hemp plant or the marijuana plant. Do you realize how much that grows naturally out in the wilderness all over the country because it's naturally found here? On top of it, let alone what was the reason it was taken? Look at the congressional record. Why? Because a Democratic senator come up and turn around and said, we need to make this illegal because of what? Because of the niggers and spicks knocking up our white girls and corrupting them. It's on the congressional record under that bill. Go look it up. It's not a joke. It's called racism. So marijuana was banned in this country because of racism. Wow. But they sure did like their alcohol, didn't they?
Yeah, they were fine with all of that stuff. And no one understands the Ku Klux Klan was started by the Democrats also. You know, like people don't get that.
Oh, there's that whole reversal. They switched. No, they didn't. They never switched. There was no such switch. There was a propagated lie.
Yep.
Matter of fact, that was one of the reasons, if you look at history, why Ronald Reagan left. Go look up Ronald Reagan and why he left the Democratic Party.
Correct. Yep.
There was no switch. Guess who's caught up in all this shit against treason and sedition and stealing your damn money and sending your money over here and making you work like a damn slave so they can live high off the slaves? We're rich. You don't even know what it is. You tap into what your Social Security gets into and the trust it is and the dead man's name and how they trapped you in with what? Your marriage license, with your driver's license, with your Social Security, and you find out they just became that was normal. And who normalized that? They did. You go out of the hospital and you check out, no, I don't want to fill out a birth certificate, certificate of live birth. I'm not doing a birth certificate. I want a certificate of live birth. Yes, you can apply for those. Yes, they are different documentations. Do you have to have a Social Security card? Show me where it says you must have it. Because the Amish don't. Oh, awake yet? And look how free those guys take and live, man. They may live simple, but they don't deal with a lot of stuff. What do you think set off Pennsylvania? Who did they go after? The Amish. Do you know how long it's been since, the Amish in history have voted? Wow. Enough to get the Amish to vote. That was how big of a difference it was. Because what? Big industry that pasteurizes the milk, adds stuff, removes stuff, all this other stuff. No, it's gone. Now you've got people, and it's funnier than hell, you got people that are almost becoming black market dealers for raw milk. Mm-hmm. And it's like ridiculous. Like, guys, just do it legal. Do a farm share. Why? Because technically they own the cow or a part of the cow and they can reap from it. That was the thing that screwed up the guy in Pennsylvania is he didn't do a farm share, do the legal loophole. But the question then becomes is why do we have to have that? Listen, you know what the difference between the two and how you difference between for births is that your child, you make sure your child, back in the day, they used to have things for your family's feet, clay, when hospitals come in, and that's made of what? The earth. When your baby touches that from the very beginning before the paper, because the hospital is considered a dock. And it's a whole legal facade that most people don't understand. And, and they do great at surgeries and in some of those massive things and so on and so forth. But as far as a lot of the medicines and everything else, a lot of it is a change in diet and so on and so forth. That being a heart patient and some of those things, how do you get to feel better? Well, how do you get to feel better? Eliminate salt, eliminate this. No, more salt. What's the first thing they do when you have a massive heart attack or anything else? They do what's called what? An IV push. What's an IV made of?
Yeah, clean. Yeah.
Water, salt, and sugar.
Mm-hmm. Just to rehydrate your system. That's
push. It. Push. They run it wide open and they push. They'll literally squeeze the bag if it's that, or put 2 bags in you. Double bag it. But people are like, what do you do? And it's like, yeah, we're not getting the right information. Why? Because they're creating an addiction. Now, let's go over the addiction thing of the biggest problems we have. Yes, we have a drug addiction problem in this country, as well as several others. Alcoholism and all sorts of other stuff. those are the things that are going to be massive. But what causes those? Trauma. What causes trauma? CPS. Destroying of your family. You go to these, and now it's revealing all these other things from churches here in Blount County. We had somebody try to, get on the fucking on the pedestal. Well, I'm going to run for office. I'm going to do that and this. Oh, wait a minute. Then it came out with all that, all that information. Weren't you a youth pastor or this and this and that? And weren't you let go from this particular church for touching a teenage child? Oh, wait.
Whoops.
Now
Yeah.
there goes. Yep. There comes the truth. Weren't you let go?
Yeah.
Didn't you? Oh, well, okay. Well, there's a big difference when a bunch of people, and it was done in front of a bunch of people, and it was known, to have that. That's why I tell people, you need to turn around and you need to worry about what's in your home. But what are you worried about? Money. I need to survive. That is the system they have perpetuated in you. Why can't you live off one income? Because we don't control that. People have given that over to the Fed. The Fed is, and that's like Cash Patel turned around and said, the Fed is not a government institution. It's a private company. And you're going to see a lot of changes in this country all over the place. And, the other thing is we used to have a family Bible. In that family Bible, what would happen with the patriarch? You would put in the names of everybody in your family tree. So-and-so begot this, so-and-so begot that. There's all sorts of things. And as far as Tannenwald, what he's doing, more power to anybody that can sit there and do that. Yes. But does it change the system is my question when it comes with this. No, it's about settling things. This is not abolishment. What we're seeking is abolishment on constitutionality. There's a big difference in what you're fighting for. Tannenwald is not fighting for that. He doesn't even have the platform for it. He's saying there's a bunch of problems and they need to make changes. But you're looking at what, once again, like all these states are realizing we're coming. And what are they trying to do? Oh, well, we've made changes. That's what they're going to do. We've made changes to do that. Yeah, but you still have the same employees. You still have the same criminals working
you can't have the system. It doesn't work that way. No. It doesn't work. If this thing goes down, everybody's got to burn with it. That's it. Because you can't. And I say let the people build this system back up. Let the neighborhoods go back to bringing their things back. Let it go back to the local areas are the ones that are going to be in charge of making sure that families are not, doing these things.
What I mean? Start community.
Yeah, community. Exactly. That's it. You need this way that this stuff needs to work.
We don't need this. We're supposed to govern ourselves.
That's right.
When something gets out of control and somebody is injured, property or person, that's when your sheriff steps in.
Yep.
But what do they work? Well, we got to do speed laws and we got to do this. We got to do that. Great commercially, which you realize you're not supposed to have jurisdiction over people. I'm not working within that system of commercialism. I'm private. This is my home, but they don't care. You watch them over and over again. And then who are you going to complain to when you have your Fourth Amendment and police officers, 4 of them bum rush your house with nothing? Well, I need to see this. I need to see the child. I'm here to assist with this. This is a civil matter. You have overstepped your authority.
That's right. Go ahead and get into a fight. Get into a fight with your wife one night and tell them that it's about the custody agreement between you and your kid. Tell them that, and they'll walk away. They will walk away. You won't get a domestic anything there to say this is a civil matter. We can't do this right now.
No,
you're gonna have to go to a different court. But isn't that funny that they can come in when CPS calls and then jump right into your family argument and go ahead and start pointing fingers, or CPS can demand that they go in and take your kid or all that. But yet, if the tides turn and you call up and say, like, me and my husband are arguing over where my son's going to sleep tonight or my daughter, they're going to say we can't get involved in that. And that's a big problem. They don't get to pick and choose. They don't get to pick and choose.
That's because all 50 states have given over your constitutional rights that CPS does not have to follow the Constitution. And that's the evidence we have.
Yep.
And that is an act of treason and sedition when they use your state tax dollars and federal tax dollars, including Title 4D, to train state employees and subcontractors to circumvent constitutional rights is an act of treason and sedition. And you know what the rule for that is? The Constitution is clear. It's death.
Put them to death. That's it.
We have tolerated too much. We have not been absolute and hard line. We can have discussions. We can debate about a lot of things, but the Constitutional is not debatable. And that's where the hard line is coming down right now with, the stuff that's going on in Los Angeles and why the National Guard was deployed. And the president did that, not the governor, not the mayor. The president says, we will follow the Constitution. Bottom line. Mm-hmm. And if you will not, then we will. We will deploy this. And yes, if it comes down to martial law, you're damn right they'll do it to reinstitute order. And the president has the power to do that. 100%. The Constitution is very clear. Matter of fact, it was a 90 days. The president did declare that the military or that the National Guard was deployed for 90 days. That is what is written in there so far. After that, that's it. That means under all that stuff done, there's going to be a lot of changes, man. And when you talk about that, what does it mean to be under martial law and everything? It means all state courts are suspended. Gone. All these other things, if they're not absorbed by the federal government, such as the Los Angeles LAPD or some other police force or the sheriffs, if they're not absorbed by that, they will tell them to go home. Who has control? The United States military. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not a joke. So wake up, people, because we're going back to the Constitution, and it's not a joke. And yeah, people are going to end up losing their lives over some things. But you know what?
It's getting real, man. It's getting real. And it's you know what? If you're ready for this, then here it comes. Hold on and be a part of it. If you're not, then
well, like what you said, either get on board or get the fuck out of the way.
That's it.
This is war.
This is it.
It wasn't us that declared war. Let's make this very abundantly clear, crystal clear for everybody.
Oh, Brenda wants to come in. Brenda wants to come in. Brenda has something to say about this. Let's hear what Brenda has to say.
We haven't declared war. When these judges and magistrates and everybody is doing what they're doing, and the state's doing what they're doing, they declared war against we the people.
They sure have. Yep, and this is it.
So guess what?
It's going to look like this.
You want to play fuck around and find out? You're going to find out. Why? Because you're going to find out. Hey, everybody, what was the number that the average American home has 6.8 guns that they know of? A lot of stuff. States are passing statutes, codes, and everything else, and they say laws. No, they don't have laws. States don't have laws. No, states have statutes and make a law. To do so would be considered another act of war. But once again, all these law enforcement and all these other people turn around. Well, the law says which one? Well, state law. State doesn't have laws. We live under the Constitution. Bottom line. It has a supremacy clause. Says anything that goes beyond that or does anything negates to it or takes away from the power of the Constitution in any way is what? Null and void.
And void. Void ab initio, my friends.
And how many times you hear people that we've heard about that they're filing void ab initios and they're like, well, the court rejected it. Or, I tried to go federal and said I wanted to go federal and the state rejected it. The state doesn't have the power to reject a federal turnover. You got to file the paperwork. All you have to do is notify them. Hey, I'm doing a change of jurisdiction and I'm filing the paperwork. You can't go further. And when I file it, I'm going to file it with the fact that the state is interfering with this. That's enough for that judge to be executed. You want to get real? It's about to get real. They're shining those guillotines, everything out there.
Yes, they sure are.
You're going to see some people lose their lives very soon for the shit they've been doing.
And they rightfully so. Hello, Brenda. We got Brenda here.
Hey, how's it going? Hey, Yeah, I was watching, I've been doing some freaking clips of what's going on in LA because I think if we bring some attention that way, where some people put it into the algorithm, then they'll look at what else we're doing. Oh, what else are they doing? They're fighting for their kids. That's what I kind of think is just whatever. I think it's exciting. I think it's exciting what's going on down there. I stayed up watching that stuff. I ended up going for an hour live with this shit that's going on down there. I was like,
That's awesome.
so what is going on in DC? Because I heard that there was like some riot going on there, but I didn't hear too much more about that. It's like this thing that's going on in California is kind of overshadowing what is going on in DC. I know they were doing like a pride thing or whatever, but as far as what I seen from that, it was all peace and love. But I know that there was some anti-ICE people down in DC as well. Did you guys see anything on it? I was so excited about what's going on down in California. I didn't even get to it.
See, this is the mislabel. This is the misinformation. It's not just ICE. It is DEA, it is FBI, it is ATF. This is a joint task force. They are going after the people that are doing all of these things, including child and human trafficking. They are doing a big swoop of all of it. So when they go in, they're covering all the bases. That's the thing that's going on.
Yeah, they want to make it look like that. Oh, they're stealing our people. That's what and they'll get their spray paint and sprayed it up there. F ice and all that. It's just a distraction to what the reality is the shit's hitting the fan, and our kids are going to be coming home soon. I'm telling you, it's not going to be much longer.
This whole system is going to crumble within our lifetime. It's going to collapse, and it's going to go back under the Constitution. The thing that we've got to be prepared for is how to actually learn to live free and to how to govern ourselves, because all these little micromanaging things are going to fall. That's what's going to happen. And you're going to understand the supremacy clause is going to be pushed and kicked in, and we've had enough. And it's coming from both sides. It's not just from up top. It's the people down here that are fed up with this and that and tired of this and that. You got to understand. Okay, well, let's go into the history of how they've tried to divide us. Do you realize that you couldn't even get a divorce, even under their terms, under contract divorce, without having a reason? The states actually make more money over a no-fault divorce. Why? Because it's a lazy way to live in your marriage. If you don't like it, just check out. Yeah.
And that's not the way it's supposed to be.
Nope.
Marriage was a binding contract forever, till death do us part. That's what God says.
Well, once again, it has to be more than a legal contract. If not, forget it. It's not that. And there are reasons, like I said, within those things, and that goes under your First Amendment. Hey, listen, she ran off with another man and all these other things, or was it this, that? Hey, that's a First Amendment. Under my religious beliefs, that's enough to put away a wife or a husband. And it depends on once again, your agreement that you have with the things. Other people, especially in now this culture, that have open, or they want multiple wives or multiple this and that. And there's the thing that why they say, well, why hasn't Utah? They come in and done this, and they've tried. But under your First Amendment right, they have a right to do that. But what do they trap them for? Fraud. Fraud on the system, fraud on this, fraud on that. And once again, that depends on what you want to believe and what you can support. But that was the system of how many children you have, because especially if you had a big amount of land you had to work, you wanted a lot of children. Why? Because they all worked on the farm. They all worked for the family's good. They worked for the benefit of everybody, including those that marry. And when they married into, you had a family that was poor, that didn't have nothing. You wanted to marry somebody that was part of the big farm. Why? Because you helped work it. And you had a thing called the patriarchy. No, I'm not ignoring you, Tiff. I said hello. If you want to, Tiff, get in here. Darren will send you a link.
So, Brenda, here's your here's your answer to your. I'll put this on for a second here. Let me just go to Brenda's question about the ice thing here. I don't know when Brenda took off and got out of here, but check this out. This is the news about that.
I said hello, Tiff. Hello, Tiff.
The air on the southern outskirts of Los Angeles as the confrontations continued, and President Trump warned that the federal government may step in and solve the problem. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officers executed search warrants at multiple locations Friday, including outside a clothing warehouse in the Fashion District. The action came after a judge found probable cause that the employer was using fictitious documents for some of its workers, according to representatives for Homeland Security Investigations and the U.S. Attorney's Office. A tense scene unfolded outside as a crowd tried to block agents from driving away. DHS said in a statement that recent ICE operations in Los Angeles resulted in the arrest of 118 immigrants, including 5 people linked to criminal organizations and people with prior criminal histories. Following the Friday arrests, protesters gathered in the evening outside a federal detention center, chanting, "Set them free, let them stay." The protests continued Saturday as Border Patrol personnel in riot gear and gas masks stood guard outside an industrial park in the city of Paramount, deploying tear gas as bystanders and protesters gathered on medians and across the street. Some jeered at officers while recording the events on smartphones. Governor Gavin Newsom said the federal government was moving to take over the California National Guard and deploy 2,000 soldiers, and warned that it would only escalate tensions. Additional details were not immediately available. On his Truth Social platform, Trump said, "The federal government will step in and solve the problem, riots and looters, the way it should be solved, if Newsom and the Los Angeles mayor can't do their jobs, which everyone knows they can't." The immigration arrests come as President Donald Trump and his administration push to fulfill promises of mass deportations across the country.
How about delivery? Olive Garden now delivers, and for the first 1 million orders, delivery is
Look at these people. Look at this.
At Olive Garden, we've
Hmm?
perfecting every cheesy twirl and saucy twirl. So where do we go from here?
The funny thing is you watch them wave their flags and everything else, they know exactly where to go. These people are just, I mean, they're not the most intelligent, as they say, the sharpest crayon in the box. Here, wave your flags of this and that. Hey, this is where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to have this. And if they have to send in more force, they will take and send in more force. And understand, the Constitution does not apply to those that are here illegally. Tiff said, check your email. She sent you some stuff earlier.
All right.
Darren.
All right.
And here's the other point. If they were so amidst of all this other stuff, look at the trash they're leaving behind of these other businesses that are now having a
Be responsible for having to clean this stuff up.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
now
not a
they've just done that.
responsible citizen. That's not somebody that you want living in your in your state or your neighbor or anything else that is going to trash and destroy all these different things. I mean, there's the other thing, and that's if they don't want to behave, I mean, that's what a lot of them say: close their businesses and starve them the hell out. You can't act right, well, then you don't get the benefits of that. Why? Because it's not profitable for a business to do anything. You're not entitled to shit. You can't take and act right. No, you're not going to do this. We're supposed to be able to, assemble ourselves peacefully and everything. This is not a peaceful anything. This is destruction. This is a constitutional violation of property. Get it?
Mm-hmm.
U.S. immigration authorities extended activity in Los Angeles area on Saturday in the.
I mean, it's not a joke. This is happening, and we're seeing this right now in Los Angeles. But how many other places this is going on that this same thing is happening, but it's not to this level where they're going to focus in on this because of what? Propaganda. Who's reporting it? The news. What about the stuff that was over there in Minneapolis and everything else? We showed you the breaking story when we went live with one of our contacts that, he showed us the live. I think it was like maybe an hour or two delay before we broke the story on that nationwide that was going on that they didn't want to report on.
Oh, who's Gunner there? He was saying
About it
something.
as U.S. Border Patrol circulated through the area. ICE representatives did not respond.
So yeah, that's what's going on over there, folks. It's getting crazy. That's right, Tiff. You got that right. Absolutely.
What was going on in Minnesota?
Well, yeah. So guys, keep an eye on this stuff. Here's Gunner. Gunner's back now. Tiff, you're absolutely right. We live by 2 laws: harm no one and don't damage property. That's it. That's it. And these people are doing both of those things. That's why they're getting the hell out of here. Get out of here, people. If they can't respect that, that's just, it's that simple. You know, they made it that simple to break it down for the common law. For all of that for us, just those 2 things, and these people cannot respect that. So see you later. Fuck them. Get out of here.
That's the definition of criminals. Those are the aspects we don't want here. Absolutely. And I'm sorry whether you feel of it, you know, that's a sense of entitlement. Sorry, that's not the law.
Right. You get to go down there and protest and make a bunch of noise, but you can destroy another person's business front that they work their asses off, that they've been in here and they do everything right. And now they're the ones that have to suffer. So you're doing that in the name of what? Showing how ignorant that you are. That's exactly what these people are doing. And that's why they need to get the hell out of here.
And it's one of the things. And if you're not, you know, if you don't agree with it, right there's the border. Get the hell out. Go find another country.
It's minutes away. Minutes away. Well, Gunner, I don't want to cut into what's going to happen. We're going to talk about in your show tonight, but this was.
Oh, we've got a whole bunch of other stuff going on tonight. Trust me, we're gonna show you some stuff that's actually we've uncovered.
Well, he's on at 9:30 tonight, folks. I don't know what's going on. Hopefully, hopefully, we'll figure out what went on with there he is, or maybe he's not.
Comes and goes choppy. I've had to reset my network adapter and a few other things. Once again, they're trying to
they're trying to shut us down, man.
They're trying to shut us down, guys. They don't want us to hear this. This is real news, real stuff. This is hardcore. This is up in your face. We're not pulling any punches.
Nope.
And that's what they don't want you guys to know. They fear you being educated. And the other thing is listen, there's a good book, like I said, that this was ordered. If you guys turn around, and this is a great book.
Well, he's coming and going. Guys, tonight, 9:30, make sure you check him out. Gunning for CPS. I'm the CPS Punisher. We're out of here.
Corruption runs deep where justice is fraud. Kids torn like roots from the ground. In this storm, our voice is loud. Steel drums clash, lightning fills the air. Won't sit silent, breathe despair. even tonight. Rights ain't paper, they burn but fight. Chains of their greed won't hold us long. Through their lies, we'll prove them wrong. Constitution, bleeding pages unfurled. Freedom crushed by the darkened world. We're warriors, we're writing a new creed. No backing down, planting the seed. Constitution bleeding, pages unfurled. Freedom crushed by the darkened world. We're warriors, we're writing a new creed. No backing down, planting the seed. Constitution, bleeding, pages unfurled. Freedom crushed by the darkened world. We're warriors, we're writing a new creed. No backing down.